Well, hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to our Health is Wealth speaker series, where the Good Life Healthy Living Program sponsors distinguished speakers every month. And this month, being Black History Month, we've had an amazing array of speakers every Wednesday of this month. So thank you for everybody who's been joining us for those talks. And like I said, once again, we've had speakers every week this month, and today is our final speaker for the month. And my name is Shanette Merrick. I'm the program manager for the Good Life series, where exercise and nutrition are medicine. All right, so we'd love to know where you're tuning in from. So please feel free to enter that into the chat. And hello to everybody out there joining us from Facebook Live. Thank you so much for being here with us. All right. And so we also like to let you guys know that it is really important to let you know that the Good Life is a growing national program that is being developed by a network of research centers across the country focused on supporting healthy aging. Together, they develop a program to promote healthy lifestyles and healthy relationships. So we're dedicated to reversing the growing public health crisis of dementia affecting economically disadvantaged older adults. And we believe that the Good Life can be achieved by everyone. Also, the Good Life is and the Health is Wealth series are developed by UC Davis Alzheimer's Disease Center in the East Bay, the California Department of Health, the City of Oakland Parks and Recreation, and the National Institute of Health. So before we get started, we'd like to give you guys some tips on how you can enhance your Zoom experience. And so the first one is that at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat function. And when you click on that, you'll see a sidebar pop up on the right. At the bottom of that sidebar, you can actually type in comments or questions that you have. And then there'll be somebody there to monitor the chat and answer your questions for everyone, okay? And if you also like to click on the icon at the bottom of the screen that says participant, you can see everyone that's inside of the session that's joined us thus far. So we'll have approximately 20 minutes of presentation and another 10 minutes for questions, okay? All right, and so without any further delay, we are excited and honored to welcome our next speaker, Tovi Scruggs-Hussein, and she'll be discussing the practice of mindfulness. Okay, so our visionary author is an award-winning urban educator with expertise in leadership, meditation, and transformation experience. Tovi is a recognized leader in teaching meditation, wellness, and self-mastery, having a daily meditation practice since 1993, and also sitting 4-week-long silent retreats. Tovi serves as an expert leader in equity, trauma-informed resilience, and emotional intelligence development for leaders so that culture climate of our organizations is transformed and to improve outcomes. She is a founding adjunct professor of trauma-informed leadership at Mills College and is the national president for Coalition for Schools Educating Mindfulness. Tovi cultivates conscious, connected, and courageous leaders worldwide. And now we'd like to welcome Tovi Scruggs-Hussein. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ned. I appreciate that introduction. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. I am in Oakland, California, so I am fairly local to where some of you may be tuning in from. It is such an honor when I'm asked to speak about something that I am so very passionate about, especially to sit at the feet of my elders and be able to share this information. I do not take it lightly. Mindfulness and meditation has been so profound in my life, both personally and professionally. When I was 14 years old, my mother died of AIDS, and that was 1986. And I needed a lot of answers. I needed a lot of support. I had a lot of love in my family. I was able to successfully go to college, and yet I still had a lot of pain that I was dealing with as a result of losing my mother in the way that I did at such a young age. And so for me to really find some answers, I was blessed to be able to be introduced to alternative healers. And they basically said, young woman, everything you need is within you. There's an empowerment model, and that model is for you to sit in your own silence and space and simply breathe, and that everything that you need is within. And so basically they were like, go sit in the corner and go breathe. And I developed a daily practice of just simply sitting and breathing and allowing for whatever emotions I was feeling in the moment to really arise in me and to just be with them. And I really liken the experience to just really being somewhat spiritual, just really me and God, and working out all that needed to be worked out within myself. And that there is a power within us that supports our own healing and supports our own growth. And that is accessed by the act of sitting still, sitting quiet, and breathing. We are so divinely made that our breath literally heals us. Our breath soothes the nervous system. And that is amazing to me. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the more that I had my daily practice, the more empowered I became, the more healthy I became, the more happy I became, the more successful I became. And so my practice is very simple. I sit and breathe. What is interesting is that people think, oh, they hear meditation and they think, you need $100 pair of yoga pants and you need all these fancy gadgets and apps and all of that. We don't need any of that. And meditation is experiential. It is meant to be experienced. So before I keep talking about it, I want to invite you to just simply join me in what we call a mindful moment or a time to center or a quiet sit. So just so you experience a little of what I'm talking about for yourself. So if you would, please just indulge me for a moment, even if you're on Facebook. If you're driving, don't indulge me. All right, so just take some time. But if you're sitting somewhere still, now's a good time. And we're just going to do about 1.5 minutes. So I invite you to sit still and to sit comfortably. Maybe sit up just a little bit more than you might be right now. And just close your eyes or gaze down if you don't want to fully close your eyes. And just take 3 deep breaths at your own pace. These 3 deep breaths. And then breathe at your own pace. Just breathe at a pace that feels good to your body. And I invite you to just be curious for a moment. Notice, where are you breathing from? Are you breathing from your throat? Are you breathing from your chest? Are you breathing from your stomach? Just take a moment to notice. If you're not breathing from your stomach, I invite you to bring your breathing down into your stomach area. If you are breathing from your stomach, maybe bring it a little bit deeper. And the invitation is that you sustain your breathing from your stomach area the best that you can at a pace that feels good for you. And I'm going to be quiet while we try that. And just noticing, do we notice a difference in our feeling tone from breathing from our stomach? Do we notice a difference in our mood? What might feel different for us by breathing from our stomach? And take a moment to express gratitude for yourself and expressing gratitude for your family and friends. And then finally expressing gratitude for the good life. I'm going to ring the bell, and when you can no longer hear the bell, please take that as a sign to return, eyes open and fully alert. Thank you for joining me in that practice. That was only 3 minutes. That was 3 minutes. And I hope that you were able to experience a shift of perhaps a bit more balance, a bit more peace, a bit more connection to self in some way. I like to sit daily on a good day for about an hour. On a not good day, 3 to 5 minutes. The powerful thing about meditation is that the moment you start working it, it works. It's not something that you build up to for it to start working. The reason that I asked you to notice where you're breathing from is because those of us that live with some anxiety or some stress or trauma in our lives, we tend to breathe shallow. We tend to breathe from our chest area or even our throat, where the air is not fully circulating and oxygenating for our optimum health. But when we consciously bring our breathing down into our stomach, we are creating healing of our nervous system by automatically breathing properly from the depth of our stomach area, where our body is literally designed to self-soothe and reduce stress simply by breathing better and easier. And so I'm one of those people, given some of the trauma that I had as a young person. Being a high school principal for 17 years has made me very anxious. So I breathe somewhat shallow. Even though I've been meditating for 25 years, my body hasn't fully restored to its optimal natural state of how we're all born to breathe from our stomach. That's why when you see the infants and such, they're breathing full body breaths, because we're born breathing normal. And our body becomes maladaptive to the stressors of our environment. And for us that are people of color, often racism serves as a stressor that will cause us to have shallow breathing. And so again, the invitation is that you bring this practice into your everyday life for even a minimum of 5 minutes every day, because of what it does for us on a physiological level. I want to share with you all the definition of meditation and mindfulness. You know, some people are like, okay, so what exactly is it? Mindfulness is simply the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. That's it. It's a space that we get where we're simply paying attention because we want to in what is happening right now, not what just happened a minute ago, not what's about to happen, but bringing our present awareness to this current moment and then suspending judgment about it, meaning not making it good or bad. So yes, we still practice discernment, but we don't necessarily overly attach to something being good or bad. It just is. So when I said to you, notice where you're breathing from, just notice. Don't give it a judgment, just simply notice. And then if you want to breathe in a different way, breathe in a different way, and then try that and live that experience for a moment. All right. When we practice meditation, which is what we just did, meditation is a family of mental training practices that are designed to familiarize us, the practitioner, with specific types of mental processes, meaning it helps you get into what's happening in your mind, what's happening in your inner landscape. So if you're struggling in some way with difficult emotions, it gives you an opportunity to be with those emotions and to kind of dissect them a bit, if you will, and pay more attention. Mindfulness has taken off all over the world, and especially in the United States. And it's been research-based and proven to make us more effective in the way that we live our lives, make us more effective at making better decisions, and making us be better connected to other people, because we're practicing being connected with ourselves. And our world is so stressful right now, especially with COVID and with kids out of school and trying to survive in this pandemic, that oftentimes we are under great distress. But this act of meditation makes us able to adapt to the stress, giving us the ability within our bodies to respond to high stress, high demand conditions that increase our self-awareness and self-management. So I want to break this down for you a little bit. On a physical level, meditation, even in as short as 5 minutes every day, makes us feel better. It makes us feel more well and more balanced. And again, all of this is research-based that I'm sharing with you. It even increases our physiological health. There are our DNA, so aging. In our DNA, we have what's called telomeres. And the telomeres are on the spiral of the DNA. They're like the end caps. So if you think about shoelaces, and when they become frayed on the end, those little plastic on the end of shoelaces, that would be like your telomere. That telomere is protecting a chemical called telomerase. And when the plastic on the end of the shoestrings is intact, then your shoelace is healthy. As we start to age, the shoelace gets a little raggedy and the plastic starts to wear. That's like what's happening to our DNA as we get older and start to age. When that happens, it's like that telomerase and other hormones start to leak out. The act of meditation has been scientifically proven to help keep those end caps in place. And so meditation acts almost like an aging serum, if you will, and it keeps us healthier. I'm really 75 years old, and look at me after 25 years of meditation, right? It works. It's a youth serum. I'm really not 75. I'm just in my 40s, but I've been doing this a long time and I feel great, and it makes me feel very positive. The other piece is that as we age, so particularly for our elders, when senility starts to set in and dementia might start to set in, that's because the prefrontal cortex area of our brain starts to thin. There's a part of the brain that starts to thin and wear, and that creates Alzheimer's. Meditation slows down that process. If you've been meditating for a while, it actually prevents that process from happening as quickly as it could. Again, slowing it down. So there are definitely effects that support it. And then I'll reiterate again, on our nervous system where stress is activated, meditation, by breathing from the stomach area fully and properly, massages the nervous system to create a sense of ease and wellness. So that's just the physical benefits. The emotional benefits are that when we get stressed out or we want to like flip out, it keeps us calm. It keeps us calm. It helps us to stay centered to our own values and our own inner strength and sense of self, so that we can be discerning, we can be wise, we can be that even-keeled person. So it improves our resiliency. It improves our ability to get that bounce back that we need with all that we go through. And so that's very, very important. It also makes us more creative. And as we also learn to sit with difficult emotions, When we're faced with difficult emotions, we're not going to be as reactive. There's a part of the brain in the back called the amygdala. And you might hear like, oh, she flipped her lid, or she just went 5150, or she just lost it. That's when people's amygdala flips out and it gets disconnected from the prefrontal cortex. And people need those areas of the brain to connect to themselves. And let me show you a little bit of a graphic for that. Okay. And so the amygdala gets less reactive when we meditate. The prefrontal cortex, that's responsible for the executive function and wellness, is happening to stay connected to keep us thinking clearly. In the middle part of the brain is this part called the insula. And so that's really where empathy and compassion are triggered in us. We think that the feelings of love and empathy and compassion are triggered in the heart. That is not the case. It's actually triggered in the brain and communicates to the heart, that feeling of love that we want to feel. And what's so beautiful is that all of this gets triggered and activated from simply sitting and breathing in silence. And as Mars has said in the chat, it is a great tool and it's so simple to access, because wherever you are as a breathing, thriving, beautiful person, you can do this. All you have to do is sit and breathe. So when you're sitting outside, just sit and breathe from the stomach and anchor to that special power that you have within you. When you wake up in the morning, don't jump out of bed. Don't pick up your phone immediately. You just simply want to lay there for a moment or sit up and anchor to your source of power. Give thanks and just breathe. And just breathe for a moment and feel how your day is going to start. And then you set that intention for your day. And you pray. If you pray, I know I pray after my meditation time. And part of what I love about my meditation time is that I have a very beautiful prayer space and altar that's dedicated just for this practice. And I go there every morning and I light a candle and I set my intentions and I give gratitude and I thank my ancestors and I thank God every day. And I just anchor to my breath. And there is a book that is completely free that I give you on my website that talks about how you can set up this wonderful space for yourself too, in a chair, with a cushion, in your living room, in your bedroom, wherever you are, in your backyard, wherever you want to have this special spot for you to just commune with you and anchor to your power. It is such a beautiful, beautiful practice and tool. I'm going to leave you with this one last piece. And that is what I call the sacred pause. And there is a man who lived through the Holocaust, and his name was Viktor Frankl. And he teaches about this special pause. And he says, between stimulus and response, in the middle, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So in that sacred pause, we have those seconds to simply take a deep breath, to give the wise response, to give the skillful response. And what is so powerful for us is that we can anchor to this in just a few moments. If you don't have 3 minutes and all you have is a moment, then we would use this 3 center check-in micro practice. And on the first inhale, we just notice what we're feeling in our body, and then we exhale. And on the second breath inhale, we notice what we're feeling, and then we just exhale. And on the third breath inhale, we notice what we're thinking, and then we just exhale. And in that 3 center check-in, we have checked ourselves, our body, our feelings, our thoughts. Are they aligned with what we want to be expressing in that moment? Are they aligned with how we want to be active and being our full selves and how we want to communicate with others? We know we're Black people. We experience a vibration and feeling tone from each other. Like when you walk in a room and you're like, woo, it don't feel right. That's that feeling tone we give off. And so sometimes we just have to center and know and practice our own discernment to govern our emotions and our feelings. Meditation is deeply powerful, deeply powerful. I hope you feel the excitement in it from me, and that I've conveyed it properly and shared with you just a little bit about the power of and benefits of this practice. And again, it's nothing super fancy. Just sit and breathe. Thank you so much for your time today. I open up for Q&A.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your all that valuable information, because it's very valuable. Very simple practice, as you said, but extremely valuable to our health, particularly our mental health. All right, so do we have any questions in the chat? So let me change my view so I can see everyone. And if you have any questions, please use the hand icon to raise your hand, and then you will pop up to the top for us, and we can answer any questions. Anyone? All right. Let's see. We have Sedalia. Thank you, Sedalia. I will unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah, she said she was gonna give her her, I guess, her website to get this free book. I wanted to get that. She didn't give it to us, I don't think.
Okay. Well, it's in the chat, but
okay.
Tovi, if you'd like to tell them verbally, but I saw the information pop up in the chat.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Shanette. It is TICIESS.com. So TCIESS.com, TICIESS.com. And there's a freebies tab that you can click on. It'll be there for you, Miss Benton.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I do meditate every morning before I get out of bed, and then I do get on my knees and say a prayer. So we kind of like in the same space. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You got the magic formula then.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any other questions?
Someone's asking about started with a guided meditation that helped train their meditation practices. And are there apps that are preferably free that I recommend? I think Headspace is doing a free app right now. Honestly, I don't use any apps. I'm a purist, so I understand that sometimes people need apps. I use positive music. I like, meditating sometimes to gospel music or India Ari, something really positive. An app there's nothing wrong with them, but I like being more in control of my own consciousness. If you go to Google and go to YouTube, there are so many free meditations.
Yes.
It's not even funny. Just literally Google free meditations. What's important that I do want to remind people is that when people are guiding you in meditation, they're controlling your consciousness and your thinking. And so, and not like mind control, like woo woo, but just, it comes into your consciousness. And so if you're going to use a guided app or meditation from someone and you're not familiar with them, you should listen to it first while you're like doing something else, just to make sure it's what you want to be surrendering to. So I do recommend that.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. And we have another question from the chat from Mars. It says, how do you refrain from attaching to your thoughts as they pop in meditation? And that's a really good question, because that is something that I've struggled with a lot until I realized that it's okay. It's natural. So I'll let you go ahead and answer that question.
Well, Shanette, you really nailed it. It is okay, and it is natural and normal. Part of that is that, you can't help but having the thoughts come in. That's where the non-judgmental piece comes into the equation and staying present. So just let the thought come in and then let it go. It'd be like, oh, that's a thought about the laundry. Okay. And then just let it go. Sometimes what I do in the morning is that, I have this kind of list running through my mind. And so I'll write down my list. And I feel like once my list gets written down, my mind is more clear. to just be present. Like I'm not holding on to something. So I'll even stop sometimes in meditation. If something's like sticking, I'll stop and write it down to then free up the mental space to not try to cling to the thoughts that are showing up. The other piece is this other kind of a fun game. And I used to use this with the 9th graders when I was teaching them meditation and other students. If you follow your breath, so Mars, you really want to follow your breathing, like follow the in breath, notice when it stops, and then go to your out breath. You really can't breathe and think at the same time. The only reason we think and breathe at the same time is because we're not thinking about breathing. We're just doing it so normal and natural. But if you really take a pause and you're like breathing in, holding it, breathing out, you can't think about anything else. So you're following your breath. And so that's a wonderful way to start the training, especially if you're separating from an app, is to just simply follow your breath. And that's why a lot of meditators will say, just follow your breath, because you won't be able to think.
Thank you. And I would like to go up to our gallery for our next question from Juanita. I'm going to ask to unmute you, Juanita.
While you're finding that one, or while Juanita's getting unmuted, the recommendations for children for meditation. So the research says that kids should be able to meditate as 1 minute for every year that they are old. So that's really interesting for those of us that are older, right? But we're supposed to be able to sit still and meditate for every year that we have been alive, equated to 1 minute. So for kids, keep that in mind. Another thing is to read some children's books about meditation so that kids start to make the connection of why it's even important and how normal it is. And then have them meditate with you. Start learning to just sit still and meditate with you. They may not sit as long as you. So when you sit in meditation with your children, you might just plan to do 5 minutes. And that's a practice that you would do just with them. I see some parents, and it's a beautiful connection practice where, you know, the parent is sitting cross-legged and the child is right there sitting in front of them cross-legged, and they're almost kind of just breathing together. So holding hands and breathing together and creating connection. So there's a lot of ways to do this. And as Mama Deborah is putting in the chat, so many children are being traumatized right now with this distance learning. And we're all under a sense of trauma. I mean, it is collective trauma right now, being in a pandemic, and it has caused some physiological effects and high stress that we've just learned to normalize. So this practice has helped to combat the long-term effects of letting this trauma settle in. Okay, we can interrupt the trauma from actually becoming embodied and settling in. And I'll be quiet for the person to unmute and ask their question.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that information, because it's very important, particularly for the children. They are having a really difficult time. I have children at home. Okay, Juanita, we're ready for your question.
Okay, my question was, do you offer classes for mindfulness?
Right now, I'm offering classes in racial healing, and I do a lot of leadership development. I have not done I haven't taught meditation in terms of not for organizations, meaning just putting it on my website and saying, I'm going to teach this. If Good Life would like to bring me back to teach some classes with you all, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be awesome. Okay, thank you for your question, Juanita. Our next question is from the chat from Valerie B. And Valerie asks, any suggested meditative techniques for pain management?
Yes. The frequency tends to need to increase, meaning you might need to meditate a few times a day. And to also send your breath, in a sense, send energy to where you're experiencing the pain. And so sometimes I'll label that as like, let me breathe into my back. Let me breathe into my shoulders. And so movement meditation, so like yoga, but not power yoga, but like restorative yoga, slow moving yoga can be very helpful for pain management, that you're breathing and moving and keeping that slow and intentional.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Valerie B. Are there any other questions from the gallery? No one, no one, no one. All right, looks like we have, all right, it looks like those are all of our questions, but I would like to thank you so much for all of this helpful information. It's very good. Meditation is really important, and I hope that all of you, as we are all working out and learning to eat healthier, that we also incorporate this amazing practice of self-healing, meditation and mindfulness into our lifestyles, because it just really kind of ties everything in together. So thank you so much for the information that you share with us. Actually, I think we have another question. Deborah, do you have a question? All right, let me unmute you. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to say that, especially in this COVID moment, all of us, I'm putting myself, like, I don't get out of the bed without saying, just thank you. Thank you for another day. Thank you for waking me up this morning. Right. Um, I just think that a lot of, and maybe Tovi can address this a little bit because she's very African centered, but I'm thinking, what do you think is like a major roadblock for Black people in terms of, like, I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my time. Look, I got to get out the bed and I got to hit the ground running. Right. And, what they don't realize is that, if we don't center ourselves before we hit the ground running, then the rest of the day will unravel. And there's this adage about, something like a day hemmed in prayer will not unravel, right? A day hemmed in prayer will not unravel. So I'm wondering if you could address, since we're all Black folks, this is a Black thing. What have you found to be ways to help Black people understand that we don't have to be the mules of the world all the time, right? That we have the opportunity to slow it down and just practice self-care.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Mama Deborah. It is critical that meditation is an act of self-care. It is one of the highest forms of self-care, in my opinion, because it's really time that we are communing with God. We are communing with our spiritual selves. And as Black people, we are spiritual people at the core, at the absolute core. And I feel like we really walk in our awareness of that. And what I found to be a bigger hindrance to meditation is not so much does it work or what do the studies show, but that a lot of times our churches teach as though it's something negative to be silent and quiet, as though something is going to externally enter us in a sense. And so that has been, I think, a huge hindrance of meditation gaining the traction in our community. And so that's why I'm so explicit about my practice and sharing what I do in terms of this is my time with God and my God self. And that, to me, that's the highest form of communion I can have, and that it's connected to my prayer time, and that the answers I receive to my prayers come by sitting in the silence of be still. The adage of be still and then what and know. and so I just think it's so interconnected, and this is a game changer tool also for our community, because we also have a lot of our society has made meditation a white thing, and it really has indigenous roots. This is not something that was created for by white women, by wealthy white women. They have really culturally appropriated the practice in so many ways, and that this is really indigenous to our spiritual roots and who we are. And that's why I use gospel music when I meditate. This is why I acknowledge to the ancestors, like it's a whole ritual, if you will, for me starting my day under the cloak and protection of spirit. To lean in and do the work that we do by facing racism from day to day, by keeping our families safe, by the high stress of battling a school system that doesn't believe in our children. Like, we can go on and on as to why we need to be girded up every morning in a positive practice that serves us. Thank you.
I just want to say something right quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just thank you so much for your relationship between mindfulness and Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, because it's so important. We are Alzheimer's disease center, and just kind of seeing a real relationship. We always talk about how stress is one of the precursors to dementia.
Yeah.
And this really ties it all in. You know, I love it. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you all again for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. We have one more question from the chat from Kayla F. And she's just asking about meditation and breathing techniques.
There are a lot of different breathing techniques that can be used. People call it breath work. And so there are different strategies for how we can use our breath. Short breaths can invigorate, and like shallow breaths can get you more energized. It sounds counterintuitive, but that would help. That's what it does in our physiology, whereas deeper breaths bring us into a state of relaxation. So the biggest thing that I can offer, Kayla, is that one, you can look up some pieces around breath work, but you can also experiment with your breath for yourself. Like that's one of the things that you can do while you're sitting there. This practice is so deeply personal and customized for what works for you. So that's the other thing I always tell people, there's no right or wrong way for you to do this practice for you. It's about what works because it's so deeply personal. So practice with your own breathing, Kayla, ways that feel really good, what is feeling like is necessary in the moment for what it is that you're seeking. And then you just work that and work it and let it be there for you, because this is a very personal practice.
Absolutely. And, with that being said, with meditation, because I know when I started meditating, I was under a lot of stress and dealing with depression and things to that nature, and really had to find something to help me center myself. Um, Being a very spiritual person and just really trying to find my way in all of that. But meditation seemed a little scary at first because you feel like you're doing it wrong because you can't focus, right? So it kind of goes back to that comment that Mars made about just how do you find your focus, and it's okay. What I've learned is that it's okay if your mind kind of drifts. It's okay. You just have to learn how to let the thought happen and then let it go and go back. And so I know that for myself when I first started meditating, because I was a little bit confused about what meditation actually was and what it was supposed to feel like and what it looked like. So I actually turned to affirmation videos on YouTube. And so that's how I really kind of started. And so because I felt like I couldn't really control my thoughts the way I thought that I was supposed to, I would just listen to affirmation videos that just pretty much were repeating these positive affirmations that I can tell myself to kind of raise my energy, raise my vibration, until I really kind of got a better idea of how to meditate. So how do you feel about those types of affirmation videos? Because I don't know if meditation and affirmation videos are considered the same thing.
I'm really a purist in that meditation is truly sitting in silence and having a practice, but that doesn't make what you're doing not meditating. You know what I mean? And so the affirmation piece, if that works for you and that gives you what you need to support your meditation practice, absolutely, by all means. And I want to highlight, because Shanette, you just reminded me of something extremely important to name. It's called a meditation practice for a reason, because every day is different, y'all. Every day is different. I mean, again, I've been meditating for 25 years and there's still sometimes I'll be like, ooh, last month, that one day was so good. And then there are times, sometimes I sit there and I can't even focus. I just can't be in the zone. And so it's a practice. So every time you do it, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. And that's why it's called a practice. And so
Right.
you just stay with it. You just show up, to yourself every day. And that's why I love having this little spot that I use for my meditation, because it is a wonderful kind of consciousness that's like, I'm going to go there now and sit there and do this. I don't go there and get on my cell phone. I don't go sit there and read. I actually just go there to go and sit and be still with me and God.
Yes, which is really important. So if you all have the space to do that and the opportunity and the time to do that, it's really great to just create a space. Like you said, have an altar space, whatever that looks like for you in your spiritual practice, whether it be pictures of your ancestors or family members and candles, or just something that just kind of centers you and, you know, brings you into that peaceful space that you can sit and really become one with the universe in your own mind and practice. So I would like to thank you again so much for your time and your information that you've shared with the Good Life program. We really appreciate it. Thank all of you for being here with us for this 4 weeks for our kickoff of our Health is Wealth series, speaker series. It's been amazing. Thank you so much to Gwen and Sherilyn for your hard work that you put into producing and pulling this together. I think that wraps us up for today. Thank you again. Thank you once again to UC Davis School of Medicine, and thank you to California Department of Health and the City of Oakland Parks and Recreation and the National Institute for Health. We were signing off now, but we want to send you guys off with light and love, and we really appreciate you being here. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for joining the Good Life program. This is your Health is Wealth series. Thank you very much, Tovi. Thank you. We